Welcome to Nichols Retirement Empire on this beautiful sunny afternoon. I have a special treat for you guys, something I haven't done in a while. And I know you've missed it. Nightmares from the 70s. That's right. It's time to revisit the 70s. I started this series so that you could tell your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and all the people now what it was like to suffer the ignominy of living through the 70s, the hardship, the pioneering spirit it took. Well, anyway, this topic, pickup trucks. Pickup trucks. You mean to tell me you're going to have a whole segment of nightmares in the 70s on pickup trucks? Yes, there's a lot there. There's a lot to talk about. For one, back in the 70s, for your kids, this is how I describe this stuff to my kids. Back in the 70s, girls, we didn't have pickup trucks with back seats. And we would all, you'd be like, well, how did you go? Well, it was me. No. Let's start from the left. It was my dad driving, and then usually me or my sister, and then my mother. So we all just kind of got up there. It's kind of like, and this is there. See, you can't use some of these descriptions for kids today because they won't understand them. But it was kind of like the Cole Haynes. If you ever watched Hee Haw and you saw the Cole Haynes and the whole family all sat on the couch next to each other. But anyway, that's the way it was. We were all packed in there on that front seat. Which, if you had an automatic, you know, that was okay. If you had a manual transmission, then that was a whole different ball game. If you had like what my dad had, which was a 3 on the tree, three speed, you shifted the gears on the steering column. So if you were sitting right next to him, and see if I can show you this. If you were sitting right next to him and he's trying to shift the gears, you know, while he's driving, see that elbow? See that elbow going back there? You were liable to get elbowed in the head. Where it was 4 on the floor, then he had to reach down over you, and you still might get the elbow coming up on the just for good fun. But anyway, so you just kind of got mauled if you were the person right next to the driver. But now wait a minute. What if you were, what if you had 4 adults, or what if the kids are getting bigger? You can't fit 4 people. No problem. That's no problem whatsoever, because back in the 70s, you could just go get in the back of the truck. You mean in the, yes, you would get in the bed of the truck and just ride. As a matter of fact, that was the preferred place, because when you were in the bed of the truck, and you're going down the interstate or freeway or wherever, or through town, you could just move around back there all you wanted. Plus, you got the wind blowing in your hair. You know how dogs just love to stick their head up? Well, that's the way we were. We just loved to have that hair swept back, going 75 miles an hour with you. And you would, now, safety first. They would tell us, to sit down. They would tell us not to stand up. They didn't want you standing up with your arms on top of the roof of the truck. Safety first. You could sit on the wheel well, which is the thing on the side of the bed. You could sit up on that if you were, very responsible and a little older. But little kids, you didn't want them sitting there because they'd be leaning out the side of the bed. So, yeah, We loved riding in the back of the truck. I mean, I would. My granddad, my grandpa, on my mother's side, he had he had rails because he had a farm, and so he would carry hay and stuff like that in the back of the truck. So he had this big tall set of rails. So when we got to ride with him, you had the bed of the truck and monkey bars right up the side of the truck. So we were always climbing those rails. He was constantly, y'all get down. I'm gonna stop this truck. It was safe. You had rails. Where were you gonna go? Nowhere. And you might think, oh my Lord, you didn't have an airbag. You didn't have seat belts. Oh no, nobody wore seat belts back then, and nobody had airbags. They didn't even have your airbags. So you were just as safe as the person in the front of the truck. Airbag. An airbag to us, that was like when you were at lunch and you took your brown paper bag that you brought your lunch in and you blew it up and popped it with your hand. That was an airbag. I know if you're young and smart, you're seeing some problems with this. For one, how are you going to ride in the bed of the truck when it's winter? Or, what if you are on the interstate? Or what if you're going on a long drive? No problem. Yeah, no problem whatsoever. All you had to do was get a camper top. And, it was like a cover that went over the bed of your truck. And it was raised up, higher, about as high as the roof of the truck. And had little windows on the side of it and stuff where you could see out. And you just attach that camper top to your truck bed, and now you have an all year long. I mean, you could have 8 to 10 kids if you want. You have all the kids you want, and still drive around in the pickup truck. 'Cause you just load them all back there in the bed with the camper top on, completely safe. Well, my dad had we were adding on to the house, so he had bought a bunch of plywood. And had stacked up all this plywood in the bed of the truck. And we lived up on Lookout Mountain, so it was real curvy and stuff like that, going up and down the mountain. And the most fun I ever had was getting back there on that plywood, because it's slick as glass. And with the camper top on, sitting on that plywood, him going around them curves, I was like sliding from side to side of the bed, from front to back. Every time he'd stop, I'd slide all the way up to the cab. And when he'd go, I'd slide back to the gate. And then if he turned right, I'd slide this way and I'd slide that way. It was great fun. I went on vacation. You would put a twin mattress in the bed of the truck. And, then you could put your luggage and stuff, back in there too. But you could ride all the way to, wherever, Florida, whatever, with that camper top on and just sleep the whole ride, lay down, set up, do whatever you wanted to. It was great. It was fantastic. It's way better than riding around in the car today, all seat belted in and restrained, and, not having the freedom to move around and bounce up and down off the mattress. And we had it made. We had no idea how much fun we were having and how much he really had it made. And I know the way I'm describing it, it doesn't sound like a nightmare. But for people today, could you imagine loading up about 5 or 6 kids in the bed of your truck and just riding down any road, and the looks and the phone calls that would be being made to 911 because you were endangering the life? Those kids could fall straight out of your truck right onto the highway, or they're not in a seatbelt. They're not. I mean, it would be a complete media meltdown if you rode down. They'd put you in jail. It's probably not illegal. They'd probably still put you in jail. Because people would go bananas if they saw you do that. It would be crazy. It would be a nightmare. Didn't have backup cameras. You'd just have to holler at your kids that were in the bed and go, "Is there anything behind me?" before you started backing up. Hope your kids had enough sense to tell you the truth. Anyway, it was primitive. It was a lot like, I mean, think about it. The pioneers, you know, they rode in a wagon. The wagon was like the bed of a truck. We were just doing what the pioneers did. We were pioneers. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what we were. We were pioneers. You guys have a good day here on Nichols Retirement Empire. And just thank your maker that your kids are not, you know, having to live that pioneer life like we did. That they're safe today. Not like we were, but safe.